There's a submarket in Houston right now where home prices have fallen 36% in a single year. Not 3.6%, not 13%, 36. And it's not alone. Scattered across greater Houston, from the inner loop to rural counties 2 hours out, from working-class neighborhoods to some of the priciest addresses inside the loop, there are pockets where the math has quietly flipped. Places that were, until very recently, some of the hottest real estate in the entire country, and are now sitting on the losing end of the biggest housing power shift Texas has seen in years. Houston's overall housing market, as the local headlines keep insisting, is still technically somewhat competitive. But hidden underneath that citywide label, a very different story is playing out neighborhood by neighborhood. Today we're going deep into 7 parts of the Houston market where the numbers are flashing red, and asking what happens when a city that spent 6 years as a seller's paradise runs headfirst into a record inventory glut, a wobbling energy sector, and a confidence shock nobody saw coming. Before we name names, it's worth understanding what actually makes a housing market high risk in the first place, because it's not just about a falling price tag. Analysts tracking Houston look at 3 things together: how fast a submarket's prices are moving compared to a year ago, how long homes are sitting before they sell, and what's happening underneath the surface. Job losses, population shifts, oversupply. That would explain why buyers are pulling back. A neighborhood down 1% or 2% isn't necessarily in trouble. A neighborhood down double digits, sitting on the market for months, inside a city that just posted the most active listings of any metro in the entire country. That's a market showing real strain. With that framework in mind, here are 7 parts of the Houston story where those warning lights are on. Number 1. Downtown Houston. Start with the steepest price drop anywhere in the metro. Downtown Houston has always traded on scarcity, a small footprint, limited high-rise inventory, and a premium tied to being at the center of everything. That scarcity is exactly what makes its numbers so jarring right now. Home prices here are down 36% year over year, the sharpest decline of any tracked submarket in Greater Houston. Part of that swing is a function of a thin market. Downtown sees only a handful of rapid suburban expansion, so a few high or low-price sales
attracted
can
new
drag the
residents
average
with its
around
charming
dramatically.
historic downtown,
But even
family-oriented
reputation
reputation,
and reputation
homes
for
here are
offering a
taking
quieter
longer to move
alternative
than
to
they
the
did a
larger
year ago.
cities of the
And the
Dallas-Fort
trend
Worth
line is
metro
pointing
area.
in one direction.
Yet beyond the
In a
picturesque
submarket
town
built on
square,
premium
an
scarcity,
enormous wave of
watching that
residential
premium
construction was
evaporate this
quietly
fast is the
transforming
kind
the
of signal
surrounding
that gets
landscape.
noticed.
Today, driving along
Number
the
2.
outskirts of the city reveals a
Houston.
striking scene. Large numbers of newly built homes
East
and
Houston
master
tells
planned
a
communities
quieter,
stretching
slower-moving
across
version of
former
the same
farmland,
story.
with many properties
Homes
still
here
waiting
are
for
sitting
buyers.
on the market for around
During the
90
housing
days
boom,
before they sell.
developers expanded
from 84
aggressively,
days just a
building
year
new
ago,
neighborhoods
and
on
nearly
virtually
double the
every
citywide
available
average.
tract of land. Prices have
The
actually
challenge
ticked
now
up slightly,
is that the
but
pace of home buyer
that's cold
demand
comfort
has
when it's
slowed
taking 3
dramatically.
months to find a buyer in a
According to
neighborhood
data from
that also
housing
carries a
analytics
serious
firm
flood
Zond
risk
Profile,
New
with
construction
roughly half of its
inventory in
properties
this market
considered at
has
risk of
increased by
severe
more than
flooding
50%
over the next
compared
3
with
decades.
historical norms. That combination,
In response,
rising
builders have been
insurance
cutting
costs,
prices,
a
offering
heavier
mortgage
flood
rate
designation,
buydowns,
and
buyers
introducing
who now have the
increasingly
luxury of
generous
waiting
incentives in an
is
effort to
exactly the
reduce
kind of
inventory.
environment where a market can
However,
look stable
these
on
measures
price,
have had only
but is
limited
actually
success.
losing momentum underneath.
Many prospective buyers are hesitating
Number
because
3.
of long commute time,
Houston County.
rising ownership costs, and growing concerns about
Here's
affordability.
where the story moves out past the
For
city
existing
limits
homeowners,
entirely.
the financial
Because the
pressure has
single
become
slowest moving
increasingly
market in the
difficult to
data
ignore.
isn't an urban
Data
neighborhood
from
at
the
all.
Collin County Central Appraisal
It's a
District
rural county, nearly
indicates
2
that
hours
property
northeast
tax
of
assessments
downtown
have
that
risen
shares Houston's
substantially
name, but
over the
almost
past
nothing
several
else
years,
with its housing
leaving
dynamics.
many households facing
Homes in
dramatically
Houston
higher
County
annual
are
tax
sitting an
bills.
average of
For
124
homeowners,
days on
the
the market,
experience can be especially
up from 96
frustrating.
days just a year
Monthly
earlier.
housing costs
And the
continue
longest
rising,
selling
while
window of
home
any
values
submarket
themselves
we
are
looked at.
experiencing downward pressure.
Prices have fallen
Market
more than
data published by
17%
Zillow
year over year,
has shown
and
median
sales
listing
volume
prices
has dropped
declining
as
by
well,
approximately
with only a handful of
6%
homes
year over
closing
year,
each month.
bringing typical asking
Houston
prices
County
to
doesn't
around
have a booming job
$520,000.
a waterfront,
The situation
or
has
a commuter
created an
rail line
uncomfortable
driving demand.
paradox.
What it
Communities
has
that
is a
were once
small,
marketed
thin
as
market
affordable
where a
alternatives
handful of
to urban
transactions
living
can swing the
have become
entire
increasingly
county's
difficult
statistics,
for many families
which is
to
exactly
afford.
the kind of environment
It
where a
raises
slowdown,
difficult questions about
once it
whether the
starts,
pace of
is
development
hard
in
to
a city
reverse.
that, historically, might have been expected to
4,
weather housing market
North
turbulence
Houston.
better than most. College towns often
North
benefit
Houston
from a
shows
more
what
stable
happens when a
economic
once reliable
foundation thanks to
suburban
their
submarket
universities,
starts losing its
student
edge.
populations,
and
Prices
diverse
here
local
are down
economies.
slightly year over year.
But the situation
But the more
unfolding in
telling
Denton
number is
suggests
time.
that even those
Homes
advantages
are now
have their
taking
limits.
68 days to sell.
Known for its
up
vibrant
from
independent
56
music
days a year
scene,
ago.
creative
A
culture,
jump of more than
and large
20%
university
in how long
population,
sellers have to wait.
Denton has long attracted
Price
students,
per square foot
artists,
has fallen over
educators,
10%.
and families
One of the steeper
seeking a
square footage
distinctive
declines in the
alternative to
metro.
larger metropolitan
Even as the
areas.
raw sale price has held
Today,
up better.
however, many residents
That gap,
argue that the
a
city's
softening
unique
price per
character
square
is
foot
increasingly
alongside a
being
headline price that
overshadowed
looks
by rapid
almost
development
stable,
and rising
is
housing
often
costs.
the first crack in a submarket
Across
before
the city,
the more visible
new
number
apartment
catches up.
complexes and large suburban developments
Number
have
5,
transformed parts
Central
of the
Houston.
landscape at a pace that has left some longtime residents feeling
If any
disconnected
single
from the
submarket
community
shows
they
that
once
this
knew.
isn't just a story
At
about
the same time,
affordable or
the gap
outlying
between local
neighborhoods.
incomes and
It's
housing
Central
costs
Houston.
has widened significantly.
This is one of the pricier
According to
interloop
data
areas of the
published by the
city.
National
The kind of
Low-Income
address
Housing
that historically
Coalition,
held its
renters
value,
in the area
even
may
when
need to
cheaper
earn more than
suburbs wobbled.
$25 per hour
And yet
to comfortably
prices
afford a
here
typical
are down nearly
two-bedroom apartment.
5% year over year.
Yet many of the
with
industries
homes
that have
taking
traditionally
39 days to
supported the
sell
local
compared to
economy,
35 days
including
last year.
education, service work,
Sales volume
and
actually
hospitality,
rose slightly,
often
which
provide
means
wages
this
that
isn't
fall
a
well
market
below
where
that
buyers
threshold.
disappeared.
As
It's one
housing
where buyers
affordability
showed up and
pressures
simply had
increase,
more leverage
some
to
longtime
negotiate the
residents have
price down.
chosen to relocate to areas with
Central
lower
Houston's
living costs.
story is a reminder
Meanwhile,
that
during
this
the height of the
correction
housing
isn't
boom,
sorting itself
developers
neatly
invested
along
heavily
income
in new
lines.
residential construction,
Even the neighborhoods with the
anticipating
strongest
continued
historical
demand from
demand
remote workers
are giving
and
some of that
out-of-state buyers
leverage back.
In some cases, that
Number
expected
6,
wave of demand
the
did not
energy sector.
materialize as anticipated. Recent market
Now
analysis
for the
from
twist that
CoStar Group
explains a lot
has
of what's
indicated that
happening in every
multifamily
neighborhood
vacancy
above.
rates in portions
This
of the
isn't
area
only a story
have
about
risen
real
above
estate.
12%,
It's a story about what
prompting some
happens to a
property
housing
owners to
market
offer
when the industry
incentives
that built
such
the
as
city
several
hits a
months of
wall.
free rent in an effort to
Houston's
attract tenants
identity
to
has
newly
always been
completed
tied to
developments.
energy, and
The
the sector
challenges
had a
extend
genuinely
beyond
rough
the
stretch
rental
heading
market.
into 2026.
Data from the Texas
Oil and
A&M
gas
Real
employment
Estate
in the
Center
metro
indicates that
fell 8%
active
between
housing
November
listings
and
have increased
February,
by more than
the sharpest
60%
drop
over
of
the
any
past
major
year,
industry in the
reflecting
region.
a significant
While the
shift
broader
from the
metro
highly
added
competitive
only
market
around
conditions seen during the
17,500
pandemic
jobs
north of
across all of
Houston.
2025.
You arrive in a city that
Roughly
embraced
a quarter
rapid growth
of
with
what a typical
extraordinary
year produces,
enthusiasm.
with healthcare
Just a few
largely
years
propping up
ago,
that number,
Conroe
while
was
other
celebrated by the
sectors shed
U.S.
workers.
Census Bureau as
When
one of
the
the
sector that
fastest
built
growing
your
cities in
city's
the country.
economy is
A
contracting,
distinction that encouraged
doesn't stay
developers and
contained
local
to
planners
layoff
to
headlines.
accelerate construction
It
at a
shows up
remarkable
months
pace.
later in who can
Today,
afford
however, the
or is willing
consequences of that
to sign a
expansion are
mortgage.
becoming increasingly
Every
difficult to
submarket
ignore.
above is
The
downstream
scale of
this one.
development becomes apparent as soon as you drive
Number
through the
7,
area's
Greater Houston's
sprawling network
inventory
of
record.
master-planned communities, many of which still
And
contain
here's the number
partially
that
completed
ties
neighborhoods
every neighborhood
and
level
large
story
numbers of
together
unsold
into
homes.
one citywide reality.
What once appeared to be a
Houston
blueprint for
currently
unlimited
carries the
growth
single largest
now
number
raises
of
questions
active
about whether
listings of
construction
any metro in the
significantly
entire
outpaced
country.
long-term demand.
Over 40,000
According to market
homes were
analysis
sitting on the
from
market
housing
at once
research
during a
firms
recent
such
peak,
as Metro Study
an
by
increase
Zonda,
of roughly
the Houston
14%
metropolitan
from the year
area,
before,
and particularly
the largest
this northern
nominal jump
corridor,
nationwide.
has accumulated a substantial
has
inventory of
repeatedly
newly
outstripped
constructed
every
homes.
other major U.S.
During the
metro in
housing
supply.
boom, builders
Even as
rapidly
national home
expanded
prices, broadly
production,
speaking,
constructing
kept climbing.
thousands of entry-level
That's
and
the
move-up
mechanism
homes
behind
based
everything
on the
above.
expectation that
More
a continuous
listings,
stream of
chasing a
buyers
pool of
would be
buyers
willing to
who suddenly
relocate
got a
and
lot more
commute into the
cautious.
greater Houston area.
Here's the honest, balanced
That assumption
answer.
has proven
Because it
increasingly
would be
difficult to sustain.
irresponsible to end this without
For
it.
many residents, the
Everything
daily
you
commute
just
along
heard is
Interstate
real data on
45
specific
has become a
submarkets.
major quality of life concern.
It is not the same thing
And
as
some
saying
prospective
Houston's
buyers
entire
have
housing
become
market
less
is
willing to
collapsing.
accept the trade-offs
In
associated
fact,
with living
look past
farther
the
from
neighborhood
employment
level
centers.
stress, and the
Meanwhile,
citywide picture
existing
is more mixed than
homeowners are
alarming.
facing their own
Pending
financial
home sales,
challenges.
Contracts
According to
signed but
housing
not yet
market
closed,
data published by
hit their
CoreLogic,
highest level in 4
median
years
home
this
prices
spring.
in parts of the
Luxury
area
sales
have
of homes
declined by
priced at $1
approximately
million,
5%,
an upsurge
falling
to
to
more than
around
10%.
$330,000.
And Houston area affordability
While those
has
prices
actually
may
improved
still
for
appear
19
affordable
of the
compared
last
with
22
major
months
coastal
as
housing
mortgage
markets,
rates eased.
many local households
The
continue
Houston
to struggle
Association of
with
Realtors
rising ownership
ownership
costs,
has described this
particularly when
less as a
property
downturn
taxes and insurance
and more as a
expenses are
market
taken
finally
into account.
returning to balance after years
Homeowners
of
have
being
also
overheated.
experienced significant increases
What
in
has
insurance
changed,
premiums.
submarket by submarket,
Recent information
is
published
that
by the
certain
Texas
pockets of
Department of
Greater
Insurance
Houston,
has documented
squeezed by a
substantial
record
increases in
inventory
property
glut,
insurance
a
costs
wobbling energy energy
across
sector
parts of the state,
and a spring
placing
confidence
additional
shock
financial
tied to
pressure on many
conflict
families.
overseas.
As a result,
Are
some
correcting
working
harder
and
and
middle
faster
industry,
than the
we arrive
citywide
at a
headline
community
lets
long
on.
celebrated for its
Some of these
picturesque
areas
downtown
like Houston
square,
County and East
often
Houston
considered one of the
carry
most
that risk
beautiful
alongside
historic
genuine
districts in the
structural
state.
softness.
For decades,
Others,
Georgetown
like
built its
downtown and central
reputation as a
Houston,
peaceful
carry
retirement
it simply
destination
because a
and a
market
quieter
built on
alternative to
scarcity
the
and
rapidly
premium
growing
pricing
urban
is
centers
the
nearby.
first place buyers push
Then
back
came the
once they
pandemic
finally
housing
have
boom,
leverage.
and everything
The
changed.
confidence piece matters
As
more than
demand
people
surged
realize.
across central Texas,
Heading into
developers
this spring,
rapidly expanded
researchers at
construction
Texas
throughout the
A&M's
surrounding
Texas
hills
Real
and
Estate
open land.
Research Center were
What had
expecting
once
the
been a
market to
relatively
finally turn
tranquil
a corner.
landscape quickly
Rates were
transformed
drifting
into a
down,
patchwork of new
sellers were
subdivisions,
returning,
large residential
sentiment was
developments,
improving.
and increasingly
Then
congested
a
roads.
geopolitical shock in
The
late
pace of
February,
growth was so
the
intense
outbreak
that
of conflict
many
involving
observers
the
now
US
argue
and
it
Iran
fundamentally altered the
rattled
local
buyers
housing
at
market.
exactly the wrong moment.
According to data published
One
by the
Texas
Austin Board of
advisory firm
Realtors,
executive
active
described it as a
residential
direct
inventory
hit
in the
to buyer
surrounding area
psychology.
increased by
People
more than
ready to make the
80%
biggest
year over
financial
year,
decision of their
leaving
year
many newly
suddenly
built
pulling
neighborhoods
back.
with a significant number
That
of
single
vacant
event
homes.
helps explain why
During the
Houston's
height of the
slowdown
boom,
accelerated so
developers
quickly this
operated
spring.
under the assumption
On
that
top
the
of the
migration
structural
of
pressure already
high-income
building
buyers
from
and
oversupply
technology workers
and
from
softer
nearby
energy
metropolitan
employment.
areas would
This
continue
isn't financial
indefinitely.
advice. It's a
Instead,
pattern in the
as
data
mortgage
worth
rates
understanding
increased and
before you
market
buy,
conditions shifted,
sell,
many
or
prospective
invest in
buyers
any of these
postponed or
specific
abandoned
Houston
their purchasing
submarkets.
plans,
The
leaving
lesson
builders to
isn't that
complete
Houston
homes
is
for which
doomed.
demand had
It's
weakened
that the
substantially.
Houston market isn't one
The
thing.
consequences have been
It's
especially
dozens of
difficult
small,
for
distinct
longtime
markets,
residents.
and a handful
Families
of them
who
are
have lived
standing
in the
much
region
closer
for
to the edge than the
generations
citywide
have faced
averages would
rising
ever
housing
tell you.
costs,
So
increasing
the next
property
time someone
taxes,
tells you
and
Houston
growing
real estate
concerns
is
about
bulletproof,
affordability.
remember,
According
the
to
city can be
market data
posting a
reported by
4-year high in
Zillow,
pending sales,
median home
and
prices
individual
in the area
neighborhoods can
climbed
still be
above
down
$450,000 before the market
at the
began
exact
to
same
cool.
moment, for completely
Since then,
different reasons.
conditions have changed considerably.
The real question isn't whether
Data
Houston's
published by
housing
Redfin
market as a
indicates
whole
that
is heading
nearly
for
40%
disaster.
of active listings
It's whether you
have
know which
experienced
7
price
parts of the
reductions
city
as sellers
already look
attempt
like
to
they're
attract
feeling it
buyers
first.
in a much more competitive
If any
market.
of these 7 caught you off
For
guard,
homeowners who purchased near
especially
the
that
market
last
peak,
one about
the
inventory,
experience has been
you're not
particularly
alone.
challenging.
Most people
In some
assume the
neighborhoods,
softness is
large
only
numbers of
happening in the
homes
cheaper
remain
zip codes.
unoccupied,
The
creating
data
an
says
atmosphere
otherwise.
that contrasts sharply
If
with
you
the
want more
optimism
of
that
these deep
characterized the
dives,
market only a few years
hiding
ago.
underneath the headlines,
Festivals
in Houston
and small town
everywhere
living
else.
has increasingly
Hit like
become a
and
landscape
subscribe
dominated by
so you
construction
don't miss the
sites,
next one.
expanding subdivisions,
This
and
channel is all
nonstop
about
development.
finding the numbers
The
nobody else is
strategy
looking
appeared
at.
to be simple.
And trust me,
Build as
Houston
much
is not the
housing as
only
possible
Sunbelt city
while
with a story
demand
like
remains
this one.
strong.
One
Today,
more thing
however,
before you go,
the consequences
drop
of
a
that
comment
approach
and
are
tell me
becoming
which of these 7
increasingly
surprised you
difficult to
the most.
overlook.
Was
The
it
sheer
downtown
amount of new
Houston
housing inventory
down more
entering
than
the
a
market
third in a
has
single
reached
year?
levels that many local
Or was it
observers
Houston
find
County,
concerning.
a market
According
almost
to
nobody
data from the
outside the
San
region had ever
Antonio
heard
area
of,
real estate
carrying
market,
the longest days
the
on
supply
market
of
number in the
available
whole
homes has
metro.
climbed to levels not
I
seen
read
since
every
the
one of
years
them.
following the Great Recession.
Thanks for watching.
Surpassing
you
the
in the next
4-month inventory.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more educational content. And as always, thank you so much for watching our videos. See you next time.